Boatworks today is sponsored by Total Boat and Alexial Yacht Coatings, as well as supported by the generosity from the beautiful folks over on Patreon. Thank you so much. So welcome back to the shop, everybody. Hope you're all doing well. My name is Andy with Boatworks today, and this week we're going to extend our stringers. We're going to get the transom stripped. We're going to do a little bit of glass work to patch some uboos that were buried from somewhere below. And I don't know, maybe one or two other things. I'm really not sure how this week's going to go, but we're going to give it our A game. So now up to this point when I was doing my sanding, I was primarily focusing on the center area because, well, this is the center section. This is the area where most of the holes for the Armstrong mounting bracket are going to be below the water line. So that's kind of where I wanted to focus. All my sanding that I did on here, this was all done with 40 grit. Now I initially tried to start with 80 grit and it was just going far too slow, especially in the areas down here where it was all bottom paint. Bottom paint can be a bit of a bear to sand off. It's just, it really breaks down the actual grit on the sandpaper very, very quickly. So I switched to 40 grit, which is fine. The main reason I wanted to do kind of a rip and tear on this area here was because, you know, I'll see if I can throw some footage back in here, but there was this entire area to include down here below the water line. This was all painted with the topside paint. That's kind of a no-no. And then they went over top of that with the actual bottom paint. And as far as being able to have any type of a watertight seal, trying to seal over top of bottom paint just isn't a real good idea. I've never had a good experience with it. It always fails far sooner than what it should. So I brought it right back down to, in some places, bare fiberglass, some places the original gel coat. And some of these other colors like this green and this blue over here, I'm presuming, it's a guess on my part, but I'm presuming this was, you know, some of the fairing that was done at the factory when the boat was being built. So now at this point, while I was doing my sanding, this kind of showed me a couple of things, right? So for one, because I've got patches of just bare glass, other patches here where this is still the topside paint, you know, that from up here that didn't get removed. So I've got high spots and I've got low spots, and it's just kind of very uneven. And, you know, unevenness when you're trying to make a watertight seal, it typically doesn't work out in your favor. So at this point, I've gone ahead and I've cleaned it, wiped it all down. And I'm going to do, at least for right now, I'm going to do an initial fairing just on the areas that are going to be the most obvious. Now, eventually, I will be going over and doing a full-on fairing of this face so that it is just dead flat. It's just going to help bank the ability to get a good watertight seal in my favor. But at this point, I'm not going to take it that far today. I am going to do just an initial fairing on here. And it's just going to be by feel. So I'm going to be going ahead, any place that feels kind of odd to my finger or to my hand, I'm going to circle it and I'm going to come back in. Now for the fairing compound, I'm going to be using Total Fair from Total Boat. It's just a great product, easy to use, and I'm able to mix up very small quantities because I'm not going to need a whole lot going on, at least not at this point. So I think that's going to be the next step. Now for marking these areas, I'm using a pencil here. I would not recommend trying to use like a permanent marker. It has too much of a tendency, unless you completely sand it away. If there's a little bit of permanent marker left on the surface, you go over top of it with some primer or some paint or whatever it may happen to be. With permanent marker, there's a very good chance that it'll end up bleeding through. So permanent marker, not the best option here, but pencil is perfectly fine. All right, so this is that area that had the void that I was talking about here a little bit ago. Looking at this, you can see that there's still some cracking coming in here, and the color of the fiberglass is more yellowish than it is like dark like it is here. This is very indicative of having a void. I'm presuming at some point this was an old repair, and it doesn't look like they really used any glass. They just kind of filled it with a putty and basically called it a day. Now, when you're going around and trying to see if you have any voids or anything like that, typically your ears are going to be your best indicator, and hopefully this will pick it up. But so this is an area that sounds solid, whereas compared to here with the void. Can you hear that? It's a little bit higher pitch. There's a good one. As opposed to just got a little bit of like a higher tick to it. I've had to remove quite a bit of material and I'm still not done. So I may end up having to do a little bit of a change of plans here. I wonder if this is like where an exhaust came out. I don't know. But it looks like to be an old perfect circle here. But anyways, I'm going to keep on grinding here until what I want to see is no more crack here, no more light colored up here. And if we end up, you know, having to get to the point where I actually need to lay up some glass, well, there's going to be a little bit of a change in plans. So, but we'll see where we're at when the grinding is done. Just kind of eyeballing it here. It looked like I was about a 1/4 inch low right here in the center. Now, for reference, I'm going to be doing my layup here using 1708 and epoxy. Now, for reference, when you're trying to get about a 1/4 inch thick of build, that's going to be roughly 6 layers of 1708. Now, I'm probably going to end up going with 5 just so that I'm just slightly low, and then I can go over top of that with some fairing compound to blend it all in. But for right now, I'm going to take a couple of little outlines here, and this is going to be the largest patch. And then the smallest patch. So I'm going to lay the smallest part or patch down first, and then each successive piece of 1708 that I cut is going to get slightly larger and larger and larger, with the end one being the size of this largest outline. All right, now these are for the stringer extensions. Now I did the first one on the port side a while back, and well, it's been long enough of a while that I don't remember exactly how I did it. However I did it, it ended up being a perfect fit. So I'm not I'm not counting on being able to get this the one on the starboard side to fit perfect round one, which is why I made two, just in case I screw this first one up. So for right now, I'm going to do a little bit of cleanup around here to get some of this just excess epoxy off of here. Ooh, this seems a lot. I may have to heat this one up to get the bend. All right, hold that thought. One thing I've noticed right off the bat is on the first stringer extension, I'm pretty sure I used 1208, which is a lighter version of biaxial compared to 1708, but I laid up these second pieces using 1708, so it's a bit stiff. I think the way I'm gonna try and fix that is I'm just gonna sand some of the thickness off of this 1708 and see if that'll make it a little bit more flexible. So evidently my card is full on the main camera, so hopefully I didn't lose too much, but I would say we've got a pretty good fit going on here. I'm happy with that. I gotta hold it in place. Otherwise it looks like it's kind of going crooked on me. But the shape is there. And I'm happy with it. Now the only thing that I want to kind of point out here is this line right here. That's about all I've got left that'll actually tuck up inside the stringer. So I'm not entirely positive I'm going to actually use this exact piece, but that's fine. I've got another piece that's still up on the bench that I can carve, but the big thing here today was that I got the shape, you know, and that was the tricky part. That took, I don't know, probably a couple hours of screwing around, but I got it. Whether or not I use this exact piece, that's going to be a decision for next week because it is already a little after 5 o'clock on Friday night, and I've got 5 or 6 hours of editing ahead of me. So this is probably going to hit Patreon tomorrow, Saturday afternoon, and then it'll be normal time over on YouTube at 9 a.m. Central on Sunday. So with that said, I think this is going to be a good stopping point for this week. And as luck would have it, my GoPro is about to die as well, so I'm definitely ending it here. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you found it interesting, and if you did, hit that thumbs up button. If you're not already subscribed, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. Thank you in advance. Greatly appreciate it. If you have any questions, comments, feel free to leave those down below. I will do my best to follow up with you, and as always, I want to thank you for your time. Thanks for watching. Have a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you next, well, either Friday or Sunday, depending on where you're watching it.
This has been a Boatworks Today production.